Hello and welcome back yet again for a continued series, and the list here, we're up to your future, so we're going to be talking about that. Now behind me here I've got a little diagram of when you were first born. You came out, you had a body, they gave you a name, you have a date of birth that they stamped on your backside, and you had emotions. You didn't have a great deal of else except you were taking information in all the time from that point onwards in your awakened world. So here we are, we're going through time like this, and let's just say that this is now. Well, all of these periods of time in your past, which are recorded, a bit like blockchain when we're talking about cryptocurrencies, we have these recorded packages of material which cannot be altered. This is the past. And equally, where you are right now, this is the future. Now the great thing about this is you cannot alter the past. It's unable to be done. It's done. And right now at the beginning of this particular video clip, it's the present. We're here right now. Now whether you're watching this at a later date or soon after I've produced this, it's still the present that you're watching it. It's right now. So let's just assume that here we are now in the middle. And through this experience of time, you have a history that you can recall for all the events that have happened in your life right back. And they can be prompted. If somebody was to talk about something in your past, you'd remember it. And you'd see it like living film footage in your mind. So all these are times of the past where events have in fact taken place. Where we're going now into the future is unknown territory. Only unknown because you haven't planned it. More likely how it is. But as we go through life and we get more and more mature into the future here, we get to a point where, people start to get a bit tired for whatever reason as they get older, and then they get really tired and they start to just plod through life. And you can see this by looking at different people out in the world that you've come to know. And then one day it's all over, bro. You're done. And at that point you disappear. Now I used to be an ambulance officer, and it's an interesting thing to note with people when you're working with them and all sorts of events that people pass away on. Between their being alive and in suffering, even if they're unconscious, to the moment that they pass or they die, their body changes feeling almost instantly. It's just something that you know, and if you've been in this field, you'll understand what I'm saying. That the people who are alive and the people who are not feel different straight away. So off goes the little life force. And I have my own theories on that, and it's not for me to discuss that here, because I have a very, not black and white, but a very technically involved background, which has given me the knowledge I've got today. Now, at this particular point in time then, if you can't change your past, and somebody comes up to me, and I'm just going to call him David, and David comes up to me and we're having a chat, and I say, David, what happened when you were 27 that was a big life-changing experience for you? And they go, oh yeah. And it could be anything like that's when I bought my first home, or I shifted countries, or I got married. But something big happened to every David on the planet at age 27. Now I made that statement once on radio. It was in a talk show, the most popular talk show in New Zealand, from a radio station called News Talk, ZB. And I was invited on to that show, and I have a claim to fame here. Sean Connery, the original James Bond. Sean Connery was on the radio station once, and he was in there for half an hour. Well, I was in there in that station for an hour and 10 minutes, because this subject became so involved that the studio went like thick with incoming facsimile calls. Emails were coming in, text messages were coming in. They were flooding in. And I made the comment to the host. His name was Leighton Smith. Well, is Leighton Smith, he's still alive. And I said, Leighton, every man on the planet called David has a major change in their living conditions when they turn 27. He said, what? So he asked the entire audience throughout the country, and some people overseas who are listening as well, if your name is David out there and you are 27 years of age or older, I need you to ring in now and just go yes or no that you had a change in your living conditions or life when you were 27. And every phone call that came in, every one of them, just ping, 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 everyone said yes they had. And he was stunned. How did you do this? And I said, well, I've gathered enough information over the years, empirical data, and I've studied people to some degree more than anyone else in a particular field, which I will be covering down here, so don't forget to watch these videos. And he was floored by it. He didn't understand it. And I said, it's a new science, but it is a science. It's not something you can do in a university because it's not in university yet, but one day I believe it will be a major skill that everybody should learn, or a degree, because from that you'll be able to tell the future, which I'm going to show you about in a moment. So during that call, he was talking to me about things, and he took a call. A lady came in, and her name was Lisa, I think it was. And I said, hi Lisa, how are you? What can I do for you? And she said, I've just changed my name by deed poll. And I said, stop there. I said, your father named you. And she said, he did. Well, Leighton nearly fell out of his chair, literally back like this. How did I do that? Again, empirical data. Now, empirical data, when I first heard the word, I had to look it up in a dictionary. It means you've gathered so much data that some things that you gather in all seem to have the same common factor or same cause. So when it arrives in the future, you can make the assumption. And sure enough, this is exactly what happened. So from that particular point in time, he said, I don't understand this, but it's quite freaky the way it works. Well, when you understand it, it's no longer freaky, it's actually a science. You can learn this. Now, I've been doing this for 40 years with this specific field, a little longer when it goes down to psychology and those interests that I had back then. So if I said now, do you have a memory of your past? Like something you might have done 5 or 6 years ago? Probably. What about further backwards? And if I'm then talking to you and giving you a consultation, which is what I do for people, and I highlight areas of your past that I couldn't possibly know about. I might say, for example, when you were 3 years old, you had a major change in your living conditions in your home to do with family. And they say, yeah, we had my grandma or my granddad was living with us and they died when I was 3. Or I had a sister or a brother born when I was 3. Or the family uplifted and went to another country when I was 3. And they go, how did you know that? Again, it's nothing more than a science. And I can work that out quite easily on a graph. So let's go up to here then. If I'm able to find out what happened to you in your past, then we have a future. But let's just go ahead in time. Let's move it like a slide scale. Just take it from here, where we are right now, and we're going to go into the future and say we're going to put it here. It's no longer the future. It's now. Here we are. It's now. From here, I could literally go back and say, do you recall this? Yes. Do you recall this? Yes. Do you recall this? When you got really, really, really sick? Yes. Now, if I can do that at that particular time, which is the present, because when you are doing this stuff, you are in the present, and I go back into the past and I can pick up things that have happened, surely then, I should be able to, from here or any other point in time, go into the future, or even from here, and highlight an event that has not yet happened, but will happen. Now, I've done over a couple of 100,000 case studies, a lot. By doing this slide scale rule of going backwards and forwards, there has to be something that causes this to happen. Now, we have free will. You have free will to do as you choose and make the decisions that you do. And as you've probably learned in your past, some of the decisions that you made weren't too crash hot. Other ones you benefited from. Now, the rule of thumb is 2% of people are successful. And I'm going to call that kind of like natural. When you look at that, opposite of that is 98%, therefore, are not successful. Unfortunately, that's not the way nature works. In nature, success is about 98%. Man has another way of looking at it and screws up his existence because he's been given the tool to think with. Now with that, we can be easily told something that's not true and we believe it. There is a saying, I think Mark Twain said it. It is easier to tell somebody a lie than it is to convince them they have been lied to. Think about that. Once you take information in, it anchors in your mind as being truth. You have no reason to think of it otherwise. But when you found out later on that you've been lied to, doesn't it hurt? Doesn't it annoy you? And we go through life learning these lessons. Nobody teaches us success at school. No one teaches us how to think, how to listen, how to absorb knowledge, and how to know what is right and what is not right in judgmental factors to do with your present and living experience. And I'm sure that most of you out there would be happy to be more successful than what you are now. Having a better home, a better job, a better relationship, a better income. Why would you like to go through life here at a 98% negative or failure rate when you can have a change? Now I've got a little card or board I made up once. I'm just going to show it to you. You can still see it from there, or maybe a bit higher. Right, on here I've got an elastic band. And here's a scale up here of your education, what you're learning. You start off down here at low, and as you go through life, you get more and more knowledge. Here is a time factor, and I've got age 0, 35, 45, 55, and so on. And you start off in life, and it's like a hill. You're climbing a big hill. No matter where you are in this first part of the curve here, where your eyes are, you cannot see past the top of that hill. Your vision, therefore, goes up here, like that, follows that path, and you cannot see anything here ahead in your future. Until you get to this particular point that you think is your goal. It might be to get married, to have a home, to have the career that you wanted, to go through the university, and you get there. But once you get there, you realise you have another path in your future that you're looking forward to. But there's a tree in the way, and that tree obscures your vision. So you know there's a future, and you know there's another goal that you're looking for, but you're not quite sure how it works yet. So you start working towards something, and next thing you know, this little person here can only see this far. They cannot see this path, they cannot see the future. Their eyesight is going literally up here into territory that they cannot see. So you finally get up here to this goal. Yay, I've achieved it. And then when you're there, you say, hang on, I have an idea. I want something really, really big. And so we take that off there, and we put this down here like this, and we say, I'm not sure how to get there, but I know I'm going to give it a try. So you then start walking along the path, get past this, and you know what it is, and voila, you're up here at the 0.8% of people who are successful. Not 2, 0.8. So here is your maximum success. Most people, unfortunately, minimum, usually only get this far through life. Wouldn't it be cool to get there? Wouldn't it? Well, what if I took this down? And what if I said from get-go that you could know where you're going in life before you reach that hill, or from here up there, so you could literally go from there straight to your goal. Now that's something that I can do because this particular part here, if I can prove your past, I can prove your future. If I can prove your future and model you and show you how things work inside your body, which I'm going to explain very shortly in the next video clip here, and so on further down, that if your future exists already, it doesn't exist per se, it's modeled around how you create it. And I can show you how to create it. And once we've got that under the way, it's now just a case of you planning the right moves for your life, for the future, for success, and how to avoid the dangers. And when we get to that, I think you'll enjoy it. Here's something I did last year. I went for the Mayor of Auckland. Why did I do that? Because somebody asked me to. Now, out of the 21 candidates that went for it, and I was a nobody per se, I came in 6th position, and I certainly didn't have the money to throw at big banners and all sorts, but I was up on stage talking to people, and they liked what they heard. Comes back down to conspiracy exposure. Do I think some elections are rigged? Yeah, I do. Why? Because I have first-hand knowledge of what I saw, what was said, how things were counted, and I'm saying there's corruption in there. So when we start to look at and listen to stuff going on in the world out there, true people are not honest. They are not honest. Some people are, but not many. In fact, 98% of people are dishonest in different varying levels. So the next video I'm going to talk about then is about human engineering, because your future, even now with this particular, where I'm talking from in 2020, which up here I'm going to be talking about down here again. I'll write that in now, because I'll just rub this out. On that site up there, and you go to the, there's an article I put up on 2020. It's got gold, I'll just put here gold bars. That's the image on my site. Go down and find that story, and it was written on the 20th of October 2019. And on that date, I talk about, in that story which is up there, I talk about there being an international series of events, health issues, financial crashing, and global impact. How did I know that was going to take place? Because right now we are in a global lockdown, unheard of. Borders are closed, people are restricted, they're in houses, it's almost like under military control. This is fascinating. Today's date, as I'm talking to you on now, is the 23rd of April 2020, and the worst is yet to come. And even the head of WHO, a Chinese guy, the head of WHO said the worst is yet to happen. How do they know? And I'm picking it's July. So we can mark that down, but that's when I think there's another major event, and we'll get through that one. September, October, we're going to be starting to change. We have elections in this year at that particular time. It's supposed to be September. It's now potentially November. That's going to take place, and I think there's going to be a change of government, unless this comes in. So I'm going to shut this one down. We're going to get into human engineering and see the next level. I think you're going to like what you're seeing down here. Thanks for watching, and we'll go into the next level. So stay in there.